There's something that no one tells you when you're building your first course. Adding too much content is the fastest way to tank your sales. What feels like more value to you feels like content overwhelm to your buyer. And there's a simple solution to knowing what to include or not include in your course planning. And that solution can lead to more sales, not fewer. As experts in what we do, most of us have one specific fatal flaw. We love to include more detail than anyone wants or needs. Some of that is out of genuine goodwill. We want to help people experience the same success that we have. Whether that is figuring out how to crochet a baby blanket for our niece or cook an elegant 5-course dinner for our neighbors without breaking a sweat, or nailing that next interview for a promotion. We love to over-deliver. We want our students to have success. In fact, you're going to hear that term all over the place, over-deliver. You need to over-deliver to build trust. You need to over-deliver to get someone to stick around. We are left with a feeling that if we don't leave our course bursting at the seams, that we haven't done our job. The other reason we tend to overstuff our courses is because we're worried, either consciously or subconsciously, that people aren't going to find the worth in what we've created. So we have a fear of rejection or a fear of failure. Think about it. In school, if we didn't score high enough on a test, we were told that we failed. How did you raise your grade? Well, you did more. You put more effort in, you turned in extra credit assignments, or you did extra credit work, and you had to over-deliver. You had to over-deliver to get that validation of a passing grade. Even if you never experienced a failing grade in school, you probably know what I'm talking about. We're told from a very early age that if we don't do enough, then we fail. And that mindset creeps into our courses as course creators. If we don't include enough stuff in the course, then we fail. And that's the last thing we're trying to do. So we start out with a big stack of sticky notes and we jot down all of the ideas that we want to include in our course, and suddenly we have 10 hours of content. But you know what? That's not what students want. In fact, I was talking with a colleague who had purchased a workshop replay recently, and they were so relieved to find out the recording was only 30 minutes. He had been anticipating 90 minutes and was thinking about how he was going to fit that into his busy schedule without sacrificing family time. So he was thrilled that that recording was only 30 minutes. It was doable. It felt good. I released my mini course on accessibility for online creators, and the very first email I received was a student telling me how much they loved the bingeable private podcast that walked them through the course content succinctly and quickly. Our students are not craving over delivery. They are craving us to deliver just what they need to experience success so that they can keep moving forward. They're trusting us to safeguard their time and energy by carefully curating the course content to be just what they need. So how do you know when enough is enough? How do you know what to include in your course structure? What should make the cut and be included, and what should be cut out? We want our courses to be effective. So here are the steps to making sure that you don't overstuff your course in the same way that we tend to overeat at family and holiday celebrations. First up, get really clear on your course outcome. Write it down, and it becomes your holy grail. What should your students be able to know, think, and or do at the end of the course? Second up, figure out what they need to make that a reality. What 3 to 5 overarching things do they need to make that outcome happen? Third, as you start to outline the content, fill in the gaps and add content, resources, new ideas, I want you to ask yourself this one question. Does this directly help the student reach the outcome? If the answer is yes, and you can give a clear reason for your yes, then it stays. If the reason is kind of wishy-washy, it's a maybe, I'll get to that in a minute. If the answer is no, it gets moved to the pile for potential bonuses or other courses or content down the road. Now, what about that answer that was maybe? Set it aside. Come back to it when you have all of the other holes and pieces filled in. Usually, you'll be able to see pretty easily if it's necessary or nice. nice to have gets moved to the no pile, necessary gets put into the yes pile, as long as you can now give a clear reason. If the reason is still wishy-washy after all of this work, move it to the no pile. The key to this process is that there must be a direct line between the idea and the outcome. Straight line. No squiggly lines, no turns and hard, sharp edges. We need a direct line. It can't be a tenuous connection, even if it's an idea that you love. And that's where it's hard. We get really attached to our content. So you're not saying no to the idea forever. I just want to make that clear. You're just saying no to the idea in this course in its current iteration and format. Like I said, it could be a bonus. It could be an extra thing that they get later on down the road. It just doesn't go in your course right now. So the connection has to be direct, straight, 100% clear that the idea will help lead to the outcome that you defined. This is how we create courses that are not too small, not too big, but are just right. It becomes a Goldilocks course. And that just right course is one that's going to sell, provided you have the right audience seeing your offer. So hopefully this gives you some courage to lean into providing a lean course that's not overly packed with content, and it really gives your student a direct line to that outcome. If this is something that you've been worried about, let this be your permission to pause. Look at the connections in your course. Look at how your content connects to the course outcome. Chances are, if you're worried about having enough, you already have plenty planned for your course. And if you're revising a course, this process works just the same way. The real magic in a course happens when it is in focus, just like a camera. Your student can go from piece to piece to piece seamlessly and implement everything that they've learned. And I'm big on taking action with what you've learned. In fact, I remind my clients regularly that progress-driven learning is the name of the game. Take what you've learned in this video, use it to make progress on your course. The goal is to get your course from sticky notes to making an impact with your audience. And let me leave you with one last thought. For each item that you set aside for a different course, a new workshop, or a bonus, there's nothing stopping you from incorporating that into your course at a future date if it becomes relevant or necessary. Your course is a living, breathing thing that can be updated and adjusted as you get feedback, as you have more students go through the process. Nothing's set in stone. What we're building is what we're building for right now, knowing that our future may take our course in new and interesting directions or adding in new and interesting components to make it even richer, but still doable for our students. I cannot wait to hear what your course is all about, what you're going to include, and what you've decided to put off to the side for now. Put that in the comments below. And until next time, happy creating.